Hi, Susie650 here, and I've bumped into something that has made me want to speak out. Right, where do you start? Okay, I was in a local town, and a bloke, approximately about 30, 35, was homeless on the side of the streets. And he wasn't asking for anything. He didn't even have a sign out. He wasn't making any noise or issue. And he got treated like absolute crap. Somebody didn't like the fact that he was sitting on the side of the street, and somebody put a coin in before this bloke got to this gentleman on the side of the street, and he just stopped and decided that in his infinite wisdom he was going to take his anger out on this person, and the subject that came up was not relevant to what he was going through. I've been personally homeless at one point in my life, and I was homeless for 4 years. It wasn't a great time. I had to go through lots of trials and ordeals, attacks from drunks, people who they felt that it was their way of impressing their girlfriends to, let's go and give that homeless person a kicking. I've gone through a fair amount of stuff. This wasn't just part-time stuff where you go back in and you shuffle onto your mate's couch. This was full on. This was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and 4 of those years. It wasn't the best time in my life, but I managed to get through it. Winter was the hardest. You just did what you had to do to survive. The support structure at that time for helping homeless people wasn't in place. It was the church mainly, and at some points I would put it as that they could only cope with a certain amount of people asking for their help. So if you didn't get there in time, you didn't get the help that you needed. But that was very limited and very slim in the day. But back to this gentleman. He just turned on this bloke and decided that he was going to start airing his issues, not because of the fact he's homeless, but that came into it. But, you're the reason, you're part of this problem, this is why we're going through. And then the magic words come out, this Brexit. And I thought, how does this man have any issue with Brexit? He's been put in a situation of where he's homeless for whatever reason that could be. That could be a personal situation at home. That could be because he's lost a loved one. I know 3 people that basically just wandered because they'd lost a loved one, and they couldn't deal with it. So rather than keep looking at the memories, what they done was they looked at life. They just went out and walked away their pain, basically. But this gentleman's comment was unfair, and the potential attack that was going to come off of him, because he was getting really angry, but yet again airing his views about Brexit, a person who, you don't even know if he's actually connected to the real world. He can see things, he can read papers possibly, but you use those things for other things when you're homeless. You don't just sit there and read paper and come into current affairs, because how can you get a vote? How can you get a say? How can you get anything? Because They're not allowed. They just disappear into the woodwork. They're classed as the if you don't see them, you don't have to worry about them factor. I heard about a particular area, Essex. London had a purge on homeless people in their streets. They didn't want this unsightly look in London. So what they done was they gave everybody the opportunity to go and move to a different area, hopefully with a new start, a new chance. You've got the chance of getting a job and so forth, so on. And so what these people done was shipped onto a train with a pass so they could get along. And basically that pass stopped off at the first place that they could get off, which happened to be Southend. And they just basically were lumbered there. I know 1 or 3 people in the Essex area and had talked to these people, and they'd said that after this great purge of trying to help the homeless situation in London, what had happened was that maybe you saw 1 or 2 homeless people in Southend High Street. Now all of a sudden that's 3 or 4 people, and that's not just to each doorway of every shop every night. That's all of the doors. The whole place is absolutely lacquered now with people who have some hope, some better hope, because living on the streets of London is not good in any way, shape or form. But now they've come to somewhere where they don't get spat at, they don't get beaten up, they don't have attacks because somebody wants to show off to the girlfriend, or just general attacks because at the end of the day people think they can, or drunks. It's come down, but they're still in the same situation. And this is one of those steps that I had to sort of speak up on, because the government obviously thinks that moving the problem is going to make the problem better. It clears up the London streets, but then at the end of the day, you look at not the fact of that it's cleared up London streets, they then move to a different area. It hasn't helped them. It hasn't helped their problem. And then, as I said, I've walked past this bloke who just felt that his Brexit anger had to come out on something. Maybe he'd had a bad day, I don't know. But this bloke got the full rebuke of everything that he had to say. Maybe he wasn't being heard enough by the government. Maybe he wasn't being heard enough at home. I don't know. But this bloke didn't need that kind of animosity and grief. Because when that bloke leaves and walks away and he's got all of his Brexit anger out on this poor bloke, then this bloke has to live with this. But he doesn't go back to a warm house. He doesn't go back to loved ones. He finds a place. Hopefully he's found a place that's safe, that he can put his head down at night and hope that somebody isn't going to come up to him and urinate on him, or that he's not going to have issues, or people are going to take the mickey out of him or give him a kicking just because he's where he is. I found it to be a disgusting situation, and I think the government needs to step their act up. And I think they need to look a little bit harder at what's going on with the homeless situation. Passing it from a major city to a sub-city or a sub-town is not solving the problem. All that's doing is just kicking a ball further down the field. To help these people, you have to actually help them. You have to put something into place. You have to put a structure of work into place. Now, I've heard of a place, it's a second-hand shop, it's called EMIS. Please look it up, and if you have an EMIS in your area, please look for it. I didn't actually know that it existed. I fell across it. I'm a person who buys from second-hand shops because I believe that I'd rather put my money rather into a multi-million-pound corporation who's selling stuff into something that's already been used and You can get a bonus, you can get a bit of a bargain for it, but also at the same time, and the more important factor, you're helping a charity. Charities aren't always brilliant. Charities have had a lot of flogging in the last 5-10 years because of basically people doing fraudulent things or scandals, or just the fact of that they're not helping, not as much as they could. Well, EMIS is a different story. EMIS is a unit where they look after and bring homeless people into them. These people are given shelter, they're given a bed, they're given a small amount of money, and they work on the premises for their keep. They grow their own food, and they look after their own animals. They learn trades. They learn how to do carpentry. They learn how to deal with the general public. They're not on the streets, and they learn how to look after themselves and put themselves in a better place. And after a certain period of time, because they've been working with EMIS, that at the end of that, when they walk away from that, what they have is they have a job reference. This person has worked with and dealt with us for X amount of, I give the reference of, and it gives them a chance to move forward. It gives them a chance to go into society again and pick up a job. And they've had so many successful victories of doing this. It's a situation that works, and it stops the thing of people getting attacked randomly because nobody is helping. Nobody is helping them. And that type of thing needs to stop. My God, we're in 2019. This needs to stop. It needs to change. This is the one place that I've seen that actually makes a difference. And it does make a difference. If you have stuff that you don't want and you want to put it into a charity shop, find an EMIS. Pass it into them. Give them the chance to sit there and help these people. Unfortunately, the last time I went to an EMIS, there's somebody, one of the people that had been brought in, age, or because basically he just had a bad time, he had passed away. They shut the place down. Obviously, the police were involved because they had to find out what it was. It was natural causes, but this bloke in his last moments had somewhere to live. He had food on a plate. He had a purpose, and he wasn't left out in the cold just to be kicked around like rubbish. There's EMISs all over the country. So I would advise that you look at these and just see if you can do something for them. If it's something that's in your house and you're going to throw it in a bin, don't. Take it to an EMIS. I'm not talking about your general waste. I'm talking about you. Every house has a house clearance at some point. New stuff comes in, old stuff goes out. So look at an EMIS. Look for an EMIS to put this into. So other people that are homeless, men, women, younger children, teenagers, everybody gets help. Everybody gets a hand. And something good comes out of it. Because I will turn around and say this, that at this point in time, from my personal experience, the government never helped us when I was homeless. I'm here. I've learned it. Yeah, they say it's character building. It's not. It's terrifying. Give some people some hope. Because this charity seems to be giving homeless people hope, as opposed to the government, which doesn't seem to be giving it any at all. Thank you for listening. And as for Brexit, It doesn't matter what way you voted. We're going to be in a similar situation no matter what. I have no issues with people who voted one way or the other. I think the ones, like with everybody who I have spoken to, and this is a fairly unanimous, the ones that have the most issues, the ones that raise the most annoyance with what's going on with Brexit and everything that's going on with it, is the fact of the people who you ask, or a conversation comes up and they go, well, you know, I didn't vote at all because. That doesn't help what we're going through. This is a change in our country at this point in time. There you go, I'm a neutral. I know where I voted. Everybody else knows where they voted. And we all hope that whatever the vision is for this country, it's going to get better, not worse. But the one highlight of this point at this present second in time is we're sitting there looking about how we're going to bring commerce into the country and how we're going to do things and make the country better. And yet we've got people on the streets that haven't got a chance. And there is more of them than you possibly could imagine. Every single night, they lay their head down in either wet, damp, cold, lonely situations. They didn't get a vote. They didn't get a chance to sit there and say where they were. I'd like to think that that one gentleman who had a go at this gentleman actually sees this. I'd love that, because I'd ask him to grow up and to get a life. Whatever he's going through personally in his life, he shouldn't take that out on somebody who's going through stuff that he wouldn't even dream about. It wouldn't be a dream. It would be his personal nightmare. He gets to go home and put himself underneath a duvet and put himself to sleep. This bloke just has to find a safe place so that he doesn't get attacked. Thank you for hearing me out. Leave comments at the bottom. If you like what you're hearing here or seeing, please subscribe, and I'll catch up with you at a later point. But yeah, next time you see someone on the streets, it's better to have 1,000 pennies than nothing. If you put a penny into somebody's hat, if every single person in a high street put a penny into a homeless person's hat, which, if that's 10, that's 10 pence of your life. Now you times 10 pence by 1,000 people. That helps that person out. It gives that person a chance. So don't ever think that you're giving a small amount if you dig in your pocket and, you know, you've got, 5 pence would be an extravagance. 10 pence would be even better. But a penny, just the loose coppers in your pocket or purse, makes a difference. As I said, thank you for hearing me out. This is Susie650 signing out.